enclave in the middle of the hood. Well, one of these complexes was built on King Drive between 63rd and 66th, easily one of Southside Chicago's
area.
These kids don't got no structure. They don't got no remorse for nothing they do.
Hey, now look, E, public announcement. You better move off the fourth floor. Because I'll be there every day. Every day. Better go to your mama house. Y'all backdoor the wrong.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories. For this one, well, we cover a
We're
topic
talking
that
about
you're probably
backdoor.
tired of
Who did
hearing.
backdoor?
Like, damn, oblok again? But I
Right,
promise you, this
again.
video will introduce you to a new generation that you've never heard of before. However, in order for it all to make sense, we must cover a whole lot of background information. So in this video, you'll learn the history of oblok, why they're so loyal to each other, and how the new generation has completely messed it up. With that being said, welcome to the new generation of oblok. But before we get into it, let me run the intro.
Yo, I could have sworn I heard like some stories about this dude, man. I don't know if it's this Swamp Story dude or somebody else. Like some beef. He's like a northerner or some shit.
Chicago has always been a wicked and dangerous city, and most importantly, with a huge underworld. Whether it was the mafia, the greaser gang,
To everyone, and it is first co-op apartment building.
Because managing a co-op means new responsibilities.
here, instead of buying an apartment, you purchase the right to live in it by investing in the corporation. It's cheaper than buying a home, and it's a great way to find an upstanding community. Because there's a barrier to entry, it pretty much weeds out all of the gang members and unemployed individuals, and it creates a safe enclave in the middle of the hood. Well, one of these complexes was built on King Drive between 63rd and 66th, easily one of Southside Chicago's worst areas. The co-op was named the Parkway Gardens, and at the time it was state-of-the-art for middle-class families.
With 35 buildings and nearly 700 units, it quickly became a premier housing choice for African-American families.
When I was growing up, this was considered the elite property for doctors,
Damn, vice
lawyers,
president.
nurses.
It was nice back then. Not no more.
That lived over here.
Not no more.
This
Miss
was the
Michelle Obama,
cornerstone
everything.
of our community.
It's protected by train yards on the south and west sides, an elementary school to the north, and a major fence going down King Drive. So although it was in the hood, it was sheltered from the bad elements and the residents could live a peaceful life. This included the family of former First Lady Michelle Obama, for those who didn't know. Well, the glory days of Parkway Gardens lasted for a couple of decades with a strong middle-class community. But then, sadly, the complex would start its gradual decline. In the mid 1980s, the owners of Parkway sold the complex to a new investor who decided to get rid of the co op status. They replaced it with Section 8 renting, and here's where the problems began. Throughout the
That made it
80s and
even
90s,
worse
the
right
new
there,
owners
man. That messed
neglected
it
the
up real
property and
bad.
started accepting new residents without background checks. And because of this, Chicago kingpins began moving into the complex to operate their business. Specifically, a BD kingpin named Tokyo G opened up in the complex and built a major operation. So major traffic was coming in and out of the Parkway Gardens on a daily basis, which caused other hoods to become jealous. Specifically, a
Mm.
territory across King Drive thought that he was taking up their business and they plotted on his head. This would be a reputed GD set called STL, long known for putting in work. Well, in
Oh, that's the
September of
FBG group, baby.
1998, Tokyo was
FBG.
tragically killed while rolling through their
All them deaths,
neighborhood.
though, man. Shit's crazy, bro. All them deaths in that little
This
area,
is known
man.
to be the first
Crazy.
official loss of Parkway as a collective, and from what we know, STL were the big
Debo.
bullies in the neighborhood, and they simply eliminated Tokyo because he was taking their customers. In most of Chicago, this would start a
Damn, that
major
drug
beef,
shit ain't
but
no
Parkway
joke,
just
man.
really wasn't like that.
I remember watching this
That's
shit.
how the man
Oh
hops out
shit.
of the
Oh,
passenger.
what the hell?
These other hoods had major
Yeah, I
gang.
remember watching this shit. Fucking years ago, man. They were talking about they had snipers on top of them buildings, bro, and they had a shootouts with the other buildings, bro. And you know what I mean? I was like, man, these complexes is crazy, boy. They got a top floor for snipers. They put in holes through the wall, so when the cops come, they go through the wall, and they don't know what room they're in. Man, that shit's crazy, man.
That had been rocking together for decades, and Parkway really had nothing. They didn't have structure, and there was no unity in order for them to fight off these other hoods. And as a result of all this, no one respected them in the streets, which will actually be important. Well, because of this lack of respect, many of the Parkway youth were tested and disrespected at school. This made it very important for them to stick together and to always have each other's backs against all odds. Since the very start, it was loyalty and brotherhood over everything, as it was the only way they could survive. Then, out of nowhere, their challenges would become even more complicated. In 1998, Chicago began tearing down the majority of their public housing, and instead of rebuilding the projects, they decided to give all of the residents Section 8 vouchers where they could move into complexes like Parkway Gardens. And just like that, the Parkway Gardens filled up with project residents from all over the city. Obviously, with all the gang beef in Chicago, this made for a potentially dangerous situation. Rival gang members could now be neighbors, and not to mention that the original Parkway residents were entering the streets as well. The Parkway teenagers could potentially not like these other hoods moving into theirs, and maybe they'll want to send a message. Things could potentially get ugly, and there was only one way to keep the peace. The Parkway Gardens residents need to agree to unify as one and to leave alone their past affiliations. So here's how it plays out. One particular Parkway native would step up to unify everyone who was moving
And
in.
all of those dudes in that picture is
Amazon
all
is
dead,
overcharging
man.
you, but I
That's
can show you how
crazy,
to
man.
avoid it. Don't
Crazy.
spend
They all
another
dead,
dime on
man.
Amazon.
Sad.
This
All
would
these
be
dudes
OD
dead.
Perry, one of the most charismatic yet dangerous teenagers you'll ever meet.
Tell me about Odie Perry. This is your best friend.
Folks was like, Folks was a gangster. He was real savage. Like
Folks was just like a young wild. He had heart. He was fearless. He was like he ain't had no fear. Ain't nothing he was really scared of.
According to many, OD Perry was like the leader of the new generation of Parkway.
That's like our big brother type shit, showing us the ropes as far as like small shit. Got a little money on them and shit, like a few thousand, motherfuckers ain't have money back then. So we started doing the same thing. Same thing.
OD Perry was a dangerous teenager, but instead of pushing people away, he wanted to unify Parkway as one. Essentially, him and his little homie T Roy were the ones to welcome everyone in and have them all pushing Parkway.
Type shit, showing us the ropes as far as like small shit. Got a little money on them and shit, like a few thousand, motherfuckers ain't have money back then. So we started doing the same thing. Same thing.
OD Perry was a dangerous teenager, but instead of pushing people away, he wanted to unify.
All right, man. Real shit though. Out of all of these youngs right here, man, how many of them are still alive? Like for real, how many of these kids are still alive this day, man? That's crazy.
by Parkway as one. Essentially, him and his little homie T. Roy were the ones to welcome everyone in and have them all pushing Parkway. On top of this, OD was very advanced and he was known to put a lot of people from the younger generation onto his lifestyle. But on the flip side, if they ever had issues with people at school or on the streets, OD was always there to back them up. To him and T. Roy, they saw loyalty as the only way Parkway would ever survive the streets of Chicago. You must always have your brother's back, right or wrong, and crossing them, you better not do it.
Dang.
Okay, so you might be sitting in your house in Santa Rosa, California, thinking, why would living in a specific apartment complex be this serious? Like, why do they all have to be unified, and who's even out there trying to harm them? So let me explain the dynamic. Right across King Drive, you have the reputed STL Gangster Disciples. For
Mm-hmm.
years, these were the bullies of the whole Woodlawn area, and they always took Parkway as a joke. But with this generation led by OD and Boss Top, the Parkway Gardens were not going to put up with this. So every single day in the mid 2000s, there were fights both at school and on the streets. It continued like this for a few years, and thankfully, no one ever
Until the
died.
gun came in play, man. That's sad.
But then OD Perry decides that it's time to go full-fledged on the rivals, no more fighting. He allegedly tells all of the younger homies like T. Roy that fighting is no longer allowed and it's time to start sparking sticks. He did
Damn.
this to prepare the youngins that the Parkway Gardens were now becoming implicated in a serious deadly beef. Specifically, the local gangs of STL, Gyro City,
FBG.
and 051 Young Money were clicked up against 600 and Front Street.
Somebody
And
called the
because
ambulance.
Parkway
They
had
just
clicked
killed
up with the latter
Yarmel.
two
That's
hoods, they
crazy.
were becoming targets in the beef themselves. Yeah, things were about to get ugly, and Odie wanted to make sure that his hood was ready for real beef. Because once the beef crosses that line, everyone from Parkway will now be a target. Well, because of OD, the beef would definitely cross that line. On January 12th,
That shit's
2011,
crazy,
Parkway claimed the
man.
life of 15-year-old
Tuka.
Shondale
Rest in
Tuka
peace,
Gregory
man.
at a bus stop on 63rd.
Man. All that, but I mean, look.
From all
If
accounts,
you guys know, man, you guys, if they know they live close to enemy territory and they're not even playing anymore, that they could just run up, drive up, and shoot you with no remorse. Why are you going to a bus stop, man? A bus stop, that's like a gas station almost, man. You know, everybody knows there's nowhere to run. It's open fields, and then if you're in the little glass to sit down, you ain't got nowhere to run because there's glass all over you, man. You know what I'm saying? So if you know you in that type of lifestyle and you're around enemies are always around you because you guys are like literally like across the street from each other, man. Why would you go to a bus stop? Because it wasn't just Tuka, wasn't it? Like what little Mark, I think, yeah, little Mark and somebody else that got gunned down at a bus stop. That's crazy, man. That's why my day, but we were on point. We made sure we were at bus stop. We were you know what I'm saying, left and right, but we look like crackheads, bitch. Just like you know what I'm saying, like for real, man. That's not a good way to live, though, man. That's a fucked up way to live like that, man. Rest in
Tuka
peace to all
wasn't
the
even in the
fallen young
beef, he just
kids
so
that didn't
happened to
make it,
hang
man.
out with the members in the
They
neighborhood.
still had a long life to live,
He
man. They
just
got
wanted to
taken
be
down.
right to make me proud. That's all. Was he gang related? No. No.
You don't think
In
he
her
was
eyes, he wasn't,
wasn't
but
a
everybody
gangster?
else said
No.
that he
The
was
loss of
throwing them
Tuka
signs and
devastated
stuff
the
like that.
63rd community, and
But who knows?
especially his best friend FBG Duck.
Like
Rest in
me and
peace to
him
Doug,
clicked.
man.
Like that was one of my real close friends. Like every day, like spend the night at his
And look
house. He
too
spend the night.
about Duck. Like I know he got gunned down, right? But I also, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'm a nobody, so it's whatever. In my opinion, man, it was not just the people that were arrested for it. I think it was also the police that actually that was the main cause of his death, man. Because as a matter of fact, I was watching it live because there was somebody that posted it when it happened. Some dude was recording it live, and I was watching it, man. He was still moving his legs up and down, trying to get up, and the cops wouldn't do that. All they were doing is standing on top of him, asking him questions and shit. No ambulance was let through. No ambulance was allowed to come get him. He was laying in that floor for like at least 30+ minutes, man. You know what I mean? I think if he would have got taken to the hospital right away, he would have made it, man. You know what I'm saying? But I think since the cops probably didn't want him, you know what I mean? I think it was the cops' fault as well, man. Not just the shooters.
Duck was at
They're the
home
main
when he
cause,
heard
but
the
the cops were
shots, and he
also the
went
reason why
outside to
he
see what
passed away.
happened. That's when he saw his friend's last breath.
You feel me? Then I ran all the way from 62nd and Wabash all the way to 63rd to St. Lawrence. Shake them right there on the floor.
After
My man
grieving
seen
this
so many
terrible
dead bodies,
loss,
bro. That's
they now
sad, man.
needed to know who
His
did
brother,
this.
his cousin, his
STL
homies,
quickly found
his
out that OD Perry
sisters.
was the one
Man,
responsible.
Knew exactly who killed Took right away because it was so many people out there. Walked up and only killed Took, only shot Took.
He was at a bus stop.
Yeah, he's at the bus stop. They on the bus stop 6 deep. He killed Tuka.
he's snitching now because they dead, so he's snitching. And they're probably not even the real people that did it to him.
Odie Perry was the shooter.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
Because of this horrible event, STL was ready to get revenge on Parkway. And because of this, the younger generation of Parkway was now forced to get violent as well. According to T. Roy, he was already ready to get stepping, but unexpectedly, one of his friends would as well. This would be a friend who had only moved into Parkway a year before this incident. This would be 15-year-old Davon Bennett, who was already a goon in his previous hood. But not only was he a goon, he was also charismatic and extremely handsome. I'm just kidding. But as
The
soon as
dude
he
said
moved in, he
handsome.
was treated like family, with
My
OD
man was
welcoming
checking
him and
Kevon out,
T-Roy
man.
becoming his best friend. Like, for whatever reason, him and T-Roy hit it off from the first day, so much so that Vaughn was willing to slide for him. And just like that, Parkway was developing their first official goon squad. They weren't even a gang, they were just guys who held loyalty and brotherhood over all else. They started calling themselves Wick City, Wick for wild, insane, crazy, and 3 eyes to show BD Alliance. Still though, after the death of Tuka, nobody respected them because they never had history of beef.
But yeah, that was the name Wick City, and people used to make fun of us because growing up on food stamps and stuff, you get called the Wick.
Well, little did Southside Chicago know, the Parkway Gardens were filled with young and wicked goons. Obviously, they were led by OD and Boss Top, but the young guys were equally as wild. Miniature T-Roy and super handsome Vaughn were like beasts that were ready to be unleashed. All they needed was a reason to start stepping, and sadly, that reason would come. After the loss of Tuka, STL was determined to get revenge on OD. And that day would come, August 10th, 2011. It's shortly after midnight, and OD Perry hops on his bike to head to the local store. As he exits the Parkway Garden gates, an SUV right there stops in its tracks. That's when 2 assailants hop out and run down on OD. This was a huge moment in Chicago history, and the Parkway Gardens were absolutely shocked. OD was one of those staples in the community that you can never imagine losing.
Cause he was like one of our first ones that we lost. Like we weren't losing friends at the time or losing close ones at the time. So when we lost him, everybody felt it.
Due to his significance, everyone decided to ditch the Wick City name and adopt Oblok in his commemoration.
I remember the day after OD died, man, and I was like, damn, I wonder what the hell we finna call a block now, and then as soon as we came
He
around,
trying to take credit, man. He gonna try to take credit calling it.
and I saw that bitch right there spray painted on the garbage can. O Block. I knew they was gonna call this bitch O Block. Like I knew he was.
The loss of OD brought everyone in Parkway even closer together than before. They were all there for this, and for whatever reason, it brought them an inexplicable bond. Nothing could ever separate or divide O-Block, as they were now all together in his commemoration. OD was big on everyone sticking together, so if we ever get in fights with our brothers, we're never taking it too far. Remember this for later in the video. After the loss of OD, T-Roy and Vaughn would go absolutely nuts for revenge.
It was sad, man. And then T. Roy was right there with him his last little moments. And T. Roy, and then T. Roy said that, oh, was like, damn, they got me, bro. Like that was his last words. And to that, so that shit changed T. Roy. That shit changed T. Roy. Cause that shit happened. Troy and Vaughn, what the jumped off head first. And when they did, they jumped off at a higher level, more aggressive than the niggas who was around O was.
That's crazy, man.
T-Roy, Vaughn, and the rest of Parkway believed that it was a 14-year-old girl named Jakira Barnes who did this to OD. But not only this, her brother would insinuate it as well.
She killed someone at 14 as revenge over Tuka.
Man, OD got his shit
Supposedly.
swag.
Odie Perry got killed at one point.
But even after claiming the life of OD, the STL side was not done stepping. In fact, 3 more O-Block members would lose their life in the coming months.
And they're saying that
Batum Jr.
So with all these O-Block losses, Miniature T-Roy and Handsome Vaughn were ready to start stepping.
My man calling that man Handsome Vaughn, bro.
In fact, over the next year, the duo would go absolutely nuts. They would allegedly claim the lives of rival members Lil Doc, Dirty Rel, Modell, P5, Boss Trell, Lil James, and Stunna. 2012 was a truly dangerous year to be a rival of O-Block. Then in 2014, they would finally get real revenge for the loss of OD. On April 11th, 2014, Jakira K.I. Barnes was targeted in the heart of STL territory.
Man, that's crazy.
Very beautiful, well-known, lovely girl.
It's
17-year-old
sad, bro,
Jakira
because the
Barnes
parents
loved
always said their
basketball, her
kids
friends,
weren't
and
that
being with
type of
family.
person, but
I love
they
her.
don't really know what they're
And
like
I'm
in
going
the
to fight
streets,
for her
man.
to have justice because I don't think it's fair that we're losing our kids being gunned down every day in the streets.
I wish I was laughing with my sister, folks. I wish I was sending my sister this money. I wish I was sending my sister these pictures of me at these interviews on these platforms. I wish I was showing courage. Oh, too.
This,
That
hey,
hurt my soul.
FBG Butter was
Every
really close to her, man. That's you can feel that man's pain, man.
day.
This was a massive loss for the STL side, and it marked that now the beef was way past any points of repair. Vaughn and T. Roy were their biggest targets, but for the meantime, they wouldn't be touchable. They both went to jail, and T. Roy also went on tour with his friend Chief Keef. Regardless, though, T. Roy was bound to return to Chicago, and this is when O-Block would take their next massive loss. It's Valentine's Day, where most couples are spending time with their lovers, and where single girls are taking pictures on Instagram with flowers that they bought themselves. But when you're O-Block's biggest stepper, there's no time for the lovey-dovey. At 11 in the morning, T-Roy notices that his op posted a picture on Instagram and he instantly knows the location. So right away, he hops on the bus and heads down to his op's location. When he gets there, he doesn't notice
Crazy,
anyone
man.
outside, so he decides to walk block by block looking for his op. Little does he know an STL
My
member
man was
happens
on
to
him.
live in the
He was
area
straight
and
up
spots him
solo
walking
mode,
by.
man. He
So
was
the
a
man
solo
whose name is
missions,
FBG
bro.
Brick calls a fellow STL member
Solo
named TB
missions,
and tells
yo.
him what he saw.
Sweet.
So instantly, TB and his friend allegedly head down to T-Roy's location. When they get there, they notice him walking into a convenience store, so they quietly follow him in. That's when they get up close to him, corner him in, and make a terrible decision. Everything froze for O-Block. It may be hard to understand, but T-Roy was like the most important member of the community. Not only was he an original Parkway resident, but he
I
was
think all of
also
them
one
are
of the
dead already
first
too,
people
right?
to
They're not
jump off
alive
the
no more.
porch.
Troy used to call me his son, man. When I first jumped out the porch, man, Troy was one of the man, like Troy, he was a little evil, trying to teach me how to drill. Like he trying to teach me how to drill, what to aim, what to go for, what to hit. Folks ass ended up telling you, like, yeah.
From all accounts, after the loss of OD, T-Roy was the head honcho of O-Block. Not only was he sliding on rivals, he was also keeping O-Block united and checking any members who fell out of line.
What about T-Roy, man? When you hear, yeah, that on the block, T-Roy was T-Roy all the time.
T-Roy, I definitely say was probably he gotta take it, bro, because T-Roy was just he was ruthless. He was ruthless, but
T-Roy's loss affected no one more than his best friend Vaughn, who at the time was fighting a murder case and sitting in jail. Vaughn was devastated
Man.
about the loss of his best friend, and he urged the next generation of O-Block to step up and start sliding. This is how Get Back Gang formed, which is essentially the second generation of O-Block. A bunch of O-Blockians who were never in the streets decided to step up
Man,
and
dude, that's
strap on their
crazy. Just think
cleats.
like many of
This
these kids
included
is
T-Roy's
still
little
alive,
brothers
man.
Heck
I
and
mean, that's all you could
Zelmana, who
think.
were
Like
never in the streets
he
before.
done
In fact,
killed
for their
himself
entire
because of
childhood,
what he
T-Roy sheltered
did.
them
It's
from the
crazy,
streets and
man.
made sure they would never be in this position. But after their big brothers lost, the formerly good kids would go on an absolute tear. Well, not only would the young guys step up, but the older generation of O-Block would as well. Essentially, every generation of O-Block united as one, all in the name of Get Back for T-Roy. While the rival hoods had internal affairs and backdoor activities, O-Block was solid as a rock.
Damn.
Get Back Gang would prove to be one of the most ruthless organizations in Chicago history. With so many members sliding at once, the rival side was taking losses left and right. Get Back Gang would claim the lives of Poppy,
TB,
Kobe,
Poppy,
FBG Brick, TB,
Kobe,
Radio, and Get Right.
man. And all of that, it was supposed to be, heck, HK
Now,
supposedly
mind you, all of
for the get back of his big brother, man. It's crazy.
this happened just a year after T-Roy's loss. They obliterated the other side to the point where everyone assumed that STL was basically extinct. And because of all this destruction, the beef had no choice but to calm down. During this quiet period, King Von was actually able to beat his murder case and was released back onto the streets. This couldn't have been at a better time, because had he been released earlier, he may have thrown his life away getting back for T-Roy. But now that the streets were quiet, Von was able to focus on his newly found love. Instead of chasing down ops, he was now chasing down studio time.
That's when I'm with Dirk and he doing all this shit and shit. Well, that's when I'm like, I'm gonna rap. I'm gonna try to rap. It was just the point like I'm on a block and I gotta study ads, go for money. So now I need something to do.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do.
On May 27th, 2018, he released his first single, Beat That Body, which got him popping in the Chicago streets. Then, with Dirk's cosign and consistent success, his career took off in a major way. So, with all this new fame and money, Vaughn decided to move to Atlanta where he could thrive and not think about ducking rivals. The future was looking bright for Vaughn and the rest of Oblok, but then everything would come crumbling down. On August 4th, 2020, 6 members of Get Back Gang would crash out in the dumbest way possible. Essentially, STL's biggest rapper FBG Duck is spotted at the mall by a man who doesn't like him. The man is upset that Duck is having relations with his girlfriend and he wants to do something about it.
Man, all that for over a woman,
But
bro.
instead of
He lost his
confronting it
life over a
himself, he
woman.
decides to call
Over
up
a,
Duck's
over
biggest
man, that's
ops. He
crazy,
calls up
man.
Get Back Gang and makes up
I
a
know
lie
it's more
that
than just
Duck
the
chased
women,
him
but
through
the
the mall
guy's
with a
called
gun.
just because of his girl,
So
man.
instantly, 6
That
Get
shit
Back Gang
just, it
members hop
just,
in 2 cars and leave out of
man,
Oblok.
it's just
They
dumb as
head
hell,
directly to
man.
Duck's location, which happens to be the wealthiest
He
mall
done
in
gave a
all of
location
Illinois.
over a
They drive
girl,
around
bro.
until they spot him outside in line of the Dolce & Gabbana store. And that's when the members
That
make a
shit's
tragic decision.
crazy, man. Like I told you guys, man. Like I said earlier, bro. I think the cops played a big role in his death as well because they could have got this man in an ambulance, and he could have made it to the hospital and probably made it. But instead of that, the cops were just sitting there questioning him. You know what I mean? Watching him just roll over, like trying to get up, and they wouldn't let the ambulance come and get him, man. So I think the cops played a big role in him dying, man. For real. I mean, I know the shooters did too, but he probably could have lived if the cops did their job and rushed him to the hospital instead of just sitting there watching him and doing dumb shit, just watching him kick and suffering. I mean, crazy, man. I was
This right
watching that
here
shit
was the
live when there
sloppiest
was
drill
somebody
that they had ever done.
on live and
Not
I was
only did
watching
they
that
do it
shit.
in the richest part of Chicago, but they also never took the license plates off their
That
cars.
shit
Because
sad.
of this, they were all bound to get arrested. It's only a matter of time. This dumb decision would end up being the very end of Get Back Gang.
Yep. All that, bro. And five people,
Then,
six
just a
people
few
lost their
months later,
lives.
Oblok's
Because
leader
Zell
would lose
Munna,
his life.
you know, he
On November
unalived
6,
himself.
2020, Vaughn would lose his
It probably
life in
wasn't over
Atlanta
this,
after a
but
serious
I think because
altercation.
his baby mama, his kid
Have been
wasn't here,
following
some shit
all
like that.
morning long. Two men
But
killed in an
six
overnight
people, seven
shootout with
people lost their
Atlanta
lives,
police and
man.
two groups of people. Joe Ripley has more as the GBI steps
I
into
bet you a lot of
investigate.
snitching going on right now trying
Atlanta
to get out.
police say 2 people are dead after an officer-involved shooting here on Trinity Avenue in downtown. As dawn turned to daylight, you could make out dozens of evidence markers. GBI crime scene investigators combing the scene.
Pretty active scene, pretty chaotic.
Vaughn was truly the king of Oblok, as he was the one who was keeping
Whooping
everyone
ass and
together
then
and
get
also
murked, bro.
making
That's
sure that
crazy,
everyone
man.
was
You
putting in
whoop
work.
somebody's
On
ass, but
top
his
of this,
homie
he
done
was the
smoked you,
bridge between
man.
the younger and older
And then your homies
generations,
was just
making
sitting there
sure that
trying to,
respect was
I
always
don't know, man.
intact. In
This shit's
Chicago,
crazy,
the young
bro.
generations of hoods have been known to backdoor the OGs or anyone who they
All
want.
that bullshit
It's
going
nothing
on
like
with that
LA
Dirk
where there's
sacrificed
structures
him
and
and woo
commands of
woo, he wasn't in his
respect.
right state of
Pretty much
mind. And
everyone is free
that,
for all.
man, who knows,
However,
bro? Who
because of
knows?
OD, T. Roy, and then King Von, everything in Oblok was always intact. But now, you'll see what happens. While Get Back Gang was fading away, a new generation of oblok was coming up out of nowhere. But this generation is rarely heard about, as many people believe that oblok died when King Von did. This couldn't
I
be
believe
further
that.
from
I
the
believe
truth,
that
as
too.
Von left
After
them an
King Von, that
awful
was a
legacy
wrap.
to look up to.
He was like the last
As
one.
much as he was praised
Cause
and
Boss Top
idolized for
ain't
what he
doing
did, you
nothing.
can only
You know,
imagine what the
Dirk,
next
he
guy would
don't
do
go
to
to the
try to
hood.
imitate his
You know
life.
what I'm
But
saying?
unlike
Just
Von, this generation has
Von
no
was the one
loyalty to
keeping that
those
shit
around them.
strong,
They'll
man. To
even
be honest
cross
with
an
you.
OG if they want to. But first, let me introduce you to the next generation. We start out with a teenager named Jamon Brown, commonly known as Munamond. As a kid, Mon spent his whole childhood in Oblok witnessing all of the tragedies you've seen in this video. But despite this adversity, Mont had a good head on his shoulders and was able to do well in school through all the chaos. I mean, he even played on his high school soccer team. So while his
My
friends were
man played
already in the
soccer.
streets,
Damn.
he was mainly focused on college and his financial future. Well, his determination would pay off as he was
Hey,
accepted to Western
them
Illinois
hood girls be
University, where he
looking
enrolled
good to
as
the
a freshman.
motherfucker though, man.
Life
I'm
was looking
telling
like
you.
a success
I
story
mean,
for
they're
Jamon,
just
but
good to
after a few
quote, but
months
you
in
know what I mean? They
college,
be
things
looking
would take a
good,
sharp
man.
left turn. On
Them
November
hood
20th,
rats be looking good, the
2019, Jamon was
motherfucker,
having
boy.
mental outbursts in his dorm, prompting other students to call security. So security comes and they notice that he's acting erratic and uncontrollable. He won't answer questions or sit down, so they decide to call an ambulance to transport him to the hospital. There, Jamon is visited by a
My man went crazy or what?
psychologist who tries to make attempts to understand what's going on. Typically, college students can have breakdowns due to stress or social pressure, but this
Facts,
case was a
facts.
little bit different. Jamon had witnessed so much trauma in his life, and much of it was boiling up inside without any help. Well, because of the severity of his mental state, the
I
psychologist
mean,
asked him to
what do
stay
they
in the
expect,
hospital.
man? Motherfuckers grow up in that type of environment. They see death. They see they get shot at. They shoot. You know what I mean? They always getting harassed by the police, and they gotta watch their own homies out. You go to the store. You gotta always be on fucking crackhead mode, like no left and right. You know, you can't even go across the street because you might get shot. That's a messed up way to live, man. That's why I'm glad I moved out the hood, man. And I'm already old, so I'm in my shit. But that's not a good way to live, man. That's a PTSD for real, man.
Until he fully calms down.
Anxiety be high to the
But
motherfucker,
Jamond
man.
understandably doesn't want to be there, so he decides to head back to campus against the hospital's wishes. Well, little does he know his university banned him from ever returning to the dorms. So as soon as
Damn.
he enters the building, he's noticed by security who decides to call 911.
Top flight.
So
I'm top
police
flight
instantly
security.
come to his dorm and arrest him for trespassing. But Jamond resists the arrest and won't comply, prompting the officers to take him to jail. This is truly sad because Jamon needed help from the university and the system, not to be trespassed and arrested. Like, how does this possibly help in the situation? Now you're going to turn a kid who's seeking mental health into a criminal? Well, sadly, the situation would get even worse. During the ride to
Yeah,
jail,
man.
Jamond has another outburst where he kicks the door and
Officials
says
don't
that
know
he's
how to
going to
handle
blow
shit like
things
that,
up.
man. They just make shit worse.
Motherfuckers can't even go to school without y'all harassing people. Like, what the? Y'all don't
I
get sick
believe
of
it, man.
harassing people? I
Officers
don't even
make
know
shit worse,
if it's
man. They
wrong
do.
doing
They're not
y'all,
there to
but
help you,
can't
protect
get
you,
no pay,
nothing.
bro. You get
They make
arrested for
situations a lot worse, man.
nothing. This makes no sense. Like, no sense, bro. No sense. I promise to God, I will blow this up. I swear to God, I will. I swear to God, I
They
will.
going crazy in that
I
backseat,
don't
man.
give a fuck. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you.
Now Jamond was in serious trouble, facing multiple
Threatening.
charges and being expelled from school. But thankfully, he was blessed with a forgiving judge, and eventually his charges would be dropped.
Oh, that's what's up.
Sadly, though, he now had to
Just
return
needs
to
to be more of
Oblok
those
where his
judges.
surroundings instantly got worse. Trust me, the Parkway Gardens is no place for anyone dealing with mental health. And on top of this, his return home would be at the worst time possible, as it was right at the start of a new generation of Oblok versus Taekwon World beef. While Jamad was off in college, his
And
friends
then
were
like another
ramping
stand
up
of
reports on the
EBT,
rivals.
STL,
And
then
on
like
that note,
another
let me
little
introduce you
click.
to the new generation of Oblok. First, you have Jamon's best friend named Lil Mike, a young dude who's known for being reckless in the streets. Then you have Taekwon Manny, also known as TQ, a 17-year-old known for getting money. Next, you have his older brother DQ, who's on the same height, but he's also trying to be the next King Von. And finally, you have the young guys Jado, Nuwop, and the youngest Tai Munna.
Man, little kids, man. Little
So
kids living
directly
that
after
life.
Mon's return from college, this is exactly who he was hanging with. And just 2 weeks after his return, things would get tragic for the first time in this generation. That takes us to December 8th, 2019. It's a Monday afternoon in Oblok, and TQ gets ready to do business in another hood. Specifically, he heads 15 minutes down the road to a hood called Fintown. Fintown has nothing to do with Oblok, so TQ figures that everything is straight. So he arrives at their
Nope.
hood and waits on 87th in order to make a
Set up.
deal that he set up online. He waits and waits and waits, but
Man, you guys should already know what I'm thinking. You guys already should know what I'm thinking. Why you gonna go, man? Man, these kids these days, boy.
viciously nobody shows up. Then, after 10 minutes of waiting, a man in a mask approaches him quickly, and sadly, the man makes a tragic decision.
Why you gonna
Everyone's
set up a deal
devastated,
with
but
somebody you
also
don't even
puzzled
know,
about the
man?
situation. Who could have done this to TQ, and why did they set him up? At first, it didn't make any sense, but then the Oblokians started putting two and two together. And it all centered around an alleged Fintown member named BCR Measle. Why? Well, because he happens to be the first cousin of FBG Duck. Now, of course, this is just speculation, but later in the video it will make sense. So remember the name, BCR Measle. Well, regardless, this is when the new generation of Oblok decided to step up. This includes Munamond and, of course, all of the other members I mentioned. But before there was Get Back, sadly, they would lose another friend. 2 months later, February 8th, 2020, 2:30 p.m. Jado gets a text from his friend Dinero asking him to come over and make a deal. So Jado instantly gets ready so that he can head over there. But as soon as he departs from Oblok, a man is following him. He catches up to Jado and doesn't say a word. Instead, he makes a terrible decision.
Damn. Damn.
Jado was like the O.D. Perry or the T. Roy of the new generation. He was charismatic, he brought everyone together, but he was also nothing to play with.
He was
But what's up with
our
this?
age group, like
But
the
see, I
new.
don't understand, man. Like, I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? These kids are showing guns that they're always they you can't catch them lacking. They're always on point. Boom, boom, boom. But every time they get caught, they're lacking. They don't have nothing to protect themselves with. So is that shit just for the views? That shit just for the social media? Like, what's the problem? You know what I mean? Like, if I notice somebody following me, you best believe I'm gonna have my shit already cocked, pointed backwards like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm walking like this. You know, I'll be like this, but I'm a mama. I'll have my shit cocked and just like, ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, it tripping.
Generation from our block, he was the leader. I'm gonna say, yeah, he's like the brain, like one of the smartest one out of all us. Yeah, folks like the brain and the
You gotta
muscle.
be on your
Like he was
fucking
the
man. You gotta be on your
mastermind
toes,
after
man.
all that shit.
Well, because he was so important.
Still using a poorly built shop chair? Aren't you tired of the discomfort and back pain? The days of awful chairs are over. Meet the Viper Chair, America's #1 rated.
Important to Oblok, the young generation started calling themselves the Jado Jumpouts. Now everyone was on board to get revenge for Jado, but there was one question. Who did this and did Dinero set him up? Well, right after the news broke, Dinero posted a screenshot of his last conversation with Jado, pretty much saying that he wishes he never texted him because that way he would have never come outside. So now that Dinero was in the clear, who could it have possibly been? Well, the rival Taekwon World side started celebrating, which pretty much revealed itself. Specifically, a Taekwon World member named D Money would go on live and troll Jado.
Like 5 cars
And
deep.
there they go, man. That's how
This
they
would
get
not
killed,
end well
man.
for
They be
D
over there
Money.
teasing the
May
dead, man.
15th, 2020. It's a nice warm evening in Southside Chicago, and D Money is outside walking his dog.
Man,
As he's
just
casually
fucking
walking around his neighborhood, a car
doing dumb
creeps up on
shit,
him.
bro.
That's when
Just
a
for
man hops out
fucking
of the passenger seat and runs all the way up to him. And before D
damn.
Money can even react, the man makes a terrible decision. And just like that, another generation of Taekwon World versus O-Block beef was stamped. It's the same exact way that T-Roy and Vaughn went on a tear for OD, and then how Get Back Gang went on a tear for T-Roy. If one thing is for certain, it's that starting a beef with O-Block is never a good idea. Once you poke the bear, they just never stop coming, and there's no timeline on revenge. And that fast forwards us a year to February 8th, 2021. In Chicago, trying to throw parties or just having fun with your friends is never an easy task. You never know if your ops are going to show up to the party or if a simple argument will turn deadly. So, because of this, many people from the hood in Chicago will head out to other cities to have some fun in peace. Sometimes they'll go up to Milwaukee, out to Iowa City, or potentially down to Indianapolis. But for FBG, they tend to stay closer to home in the tucked off suburb of Bloomingdale, Illinois. In
Hell yeah, man. Why
particular,
you
they
gonna
rent out a
leave, man?
couple rooms at the Indian Lakes Hotel where they can have some peaceful fun. Well, on this particular
Hmm.
Friday night, the
They
word
had to
gets
go
out
to a
and
whole
over
different
200
city just to
people
throw a
show up
house
to the
party, man.
hotel.
A
This
hotel
includes
party. That's
FBG dad's
crazy,
cousin
man.
Measle, who Oblak
You gotta
believes saved
travel
the life
different
of
parts of
TQ.
town to another city to throw
Because
a
of this,
goddamn
Measle
hotel party,
happens to be
man.
one of the most
That's
wanted
crazy.
men in Southside
That's crazy
Chicago.
right
But
there.
on this night, he figures no one will find him and he can sit back and have some good old fun. The party is jumping, girls are twerking everywhere, and everything is going well for over an hour. It gets to the point where the whole sixth floor hallway is flooded with people, and it's a party like you've never seen before. Well, at 2 a.m., a couple of men in masks wiggle through the hallways looking for Measle. They then push their way into the party where they see him. Sadly, they make a tragic decision.
Everybody's always lacking, man. Always is always getting called lacking when they say they're never lacking. That's just wild, man. I bet you on social media though he had all types of guns and artillery, man. But that one day he ain't had nothing, bro. Rest in peace, man. Rest in peace to all these young kids that are dying in this episode, man. For real. That's crazy.
What police say started as a large hotel party with nearly 200 people ended in gunfire, and a Chicago man is dead.
Unfortunately, there may have been more because over 100 people fled the hotel before we had contact with them.
The victim identified as 27-year-old James McGill. McGill lived in the city's Inglewood neighborhood. Police say they've been called out to the hotel for drug and gun cases in the past, even writing a letter to hotel management, asking them to address these issues.
I guarantee you, man, I guarantee you soon they're gonna just tear down all the Parkway Gardens, man. They're gonna purchase it and they're just gonna tear that shit down, bro. They're gonna get tired of all this unnecessary violence and killings, and they're just gonna tear it all down to try to stop that from happening, man. All right, that's the next step. That's the next drastic step that's gonna happen, man. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully, but that's the way that it seems like it's going.
Staff, management on
Because it's
duty.
not being taken
So
care
we
of.
conveyed to
They're
them that
acting
we have
recklessly.
concerns back then, and we almost predicted that something could happen there.
During the party, which spanned 2 floors, investigators say only one employee was working and no security on scene.
Well, because of this incident, the owners of the Indian Lakes Hotel were forced to shut down their business. So not only did May 15th claim a life, but it also claimed a major business for
And that's what they care about, man. They made us lose money. That's what they care about.
Where the whole point of education
a family.
New York 10 Indian Lakes Hotel in West Suburban Bloomingdale will shutter for good after a deadly shooting there last month. Today, the hotel's owner, First Hospitality Group, agreed to surrender its business license.
It will not
and end
reopen.
all business
What?
on the property. Bloomingdale
Damn.
village leader said the hotel.
Damn, that one killing, they shut the whole. They were like, man, we don't want this. That's wild, man.
It's been a trouble spot for years.
Well,
That's
even though
wild.
there were
That was the
200
last
people at
straw.
the party, 0 people came forward
That was
with
the last
evidence.
straw. They
So
were
of
like,
course,
man,
we
we're
don't
cool.
officially know who did this, but an Oblok member would post something on his story. The day after the incident, he would post a picture with a cutout of TQ, and he'd say, "And now his killer is dead." On top of this, just the next day, a whole crew of Oblokians would seemingly celebrate the loss. The new generation of Oblok was doing the same exact things as the past. But thankfully, to this point, Oblok was still unified as one, even after the loss of all their leaders. But then the Jado jumpouts would ruin all of that for the first time ever. These guys would instantly become more reckless than any generations of the past. So
Damn.
here's how it goes. The story goes that Munamond made the reckless decision to rob an OG Oblok member for $15,000. In the history of
And they
Oblok,
robbed his
this has
own
never
hood.
been okay, and OD, T-Roy, and Vaughn would definitely not allow this.
That's not OD, but that's Jay
Especially
Money.
because the alleged victim was one of T-Roy and Vaughn's closest friends. But for the young generation like Munamond, they had
Who
no
is it?
respect for the elders and would literally cross anyone for money. Well, because of these reckless
That's
actions,
crazy,
an
man.
original Oblok member named A-Roy was
Ain't that
called
the one
to
that got
the
killed?
TP of Munamond.
Yo, ain't that the one that got killed? I watched the video of, I think it was A-Rod that got killed. Like he beat somebody up, he whooped him, and then the dude just pop, pop, pop. Yeah, that was him, right? Is that the reason he got?
Roy was a respected and active member since back in the day, as you can even see him in vlogs from around 2012. So because of his seniority
These
and
youngsters
choice,
have
he had
no
every right to
fucking
discipline
no
Manamon.
structure, man.
That takes us to December 15th, 2021.
He put
It's
the
a regular
brakes,
day in
pop, pop,
Oblak, and all of the
whooping
younger
somebody, and then he
generation are
gets shot,
hanging out
man.
inside the gates like any other day.
Crazy.
This
I don't
includes
condone
Manamon,
violence.
who's chilling like he has nothing to worry about. He knows the older generation had warned him about what they're gonna do, but he simply just doesn't care. Well, Aroy was not just talking, as here he comes ready to fight Manamon. So he walks
Okay,
up to
there
him
you
in
go.
front of
Yeah,
the
that's the
whole
video right there.
neighborhood, and boom, he starts whooping him.
Whooping him.
Everyone in the neighborhood is watching, and there's even girls on the top floor recording it. Then, when Aroy lets up on him, a tragedy strikes. A shot goes off,
Yep.
and Aroy is rushed to the hospital. Sadly, though, he wouldn't make it after surgery. Aroy had survived all those years in the streets just to lose his life like this.
His own
He was a
people.
valuable
Yeah.
and well-respected member of the community.
His own
Because
area.
of this, the older generation was pissed. Nothing like this had ever happened in Oblok, and something needed to be done. So, in order to keep the internal peace, the older generation decided to collectively ban Manamon from Oblok. You messed up and took things too far. We don't want to hurt you, but please never come back around. Now the ball is in Mon's court. You
And
can
not in
either
those
do what
words.
BOP or disrespect their wishes and do what you want. For the first solution, you have to swallow your pride, but everything will be peaceful. But for the second solution, well, things could get ugly. Well, here's the problem. This is not the Oblok of the old days. The older generation have no say-so, and on top of this, they're way outnumbered. So Manamon completely disregards his ban, and the Jado jump-outs are right beside him. The original members cannot believe it, so here's what they do. First, Aroy's brother named Big P posts on Instagram that everyone in Oak
They confuse what's really gangster and a real life beat the out man, no gun, all hands getting shot from behind. You a for sure now niggas smoking Halo. Niggas better start picking a side around this. Damn, bro.
better pick a side.
Y'all better pick a side on Molly. I'm not playing. Quit playing with me, you little ass boy. Stay in y'all place.
He then goes on live and explains why he feels the way he feels.
But it took them to kill my brother.
Yeah, they killed my brother. I'm on it, my boy. If my
That's why
brother
y'all
gets
ain't
killed by
kill
his
me.
own
Y'all
people,
killed my
I'm
little
on it.
brother. Now his daughter very mad. And that angers me. And it pissed me off when she asked where her daddy at. I can't
Yeah, that
believe
shit. Yeah,
Oblak, man. I put
Hello, my name is Kevin Rogers
yeah.
from
These
Oblak,
youngsters, they don't
Montana
care, man.
436,
They
and I'm
just
going to
think
give you 10
they
reasons
think
why
it's a real
purchasing a
Call of
better
Duty in
future
real
in
life,
Black.
man.
my heart and soul in this block. I can't believe Oblak, man. I put my heart and soul in this block.
Then Manamon takes to Facebook and responds in the most disrespectful way possible. Letting your brother die in front of you and you don't do that just makes you a bitch
Damn.
even more. Telling that to a man who just lost his brother is beyond me. But like I've
Yo.
said, the young generation of Oblok has zero respect for their elders. Well, as you would expect, Big P takes this to heart and decides to threaten all of the Jado jump outs.
Hey, Ebo, you down? Mon, you down? Lil Mike,
And
you
then he's
down?
snitching on himself, bro.
D-Lo,
He's dumb as
yeah,
hell for doing
Mon
that
first,
shit.
definitely first. No, matter what. Hey, Chuck, I know Mon low. We're going to get over him anyway. We're going to feed him a sandwich before we kill him.
Why you
Better
saying
move
that's not
that crib.
lying, though,
Nigga, I
man?
don't think I'm going to let that shit slide. Nigga, better move that crib.
Well, for whatever reason, Manamon takes this all as a joke and he responds on Instagram Live.
That's nobody. He a threat.
He ducking his damn self.
Threat. Fooling me ain't no threat. Stop trying to make it seem like he a threat. He a goof for the internet. They be thinking niggas threats. Hey, he ain't no fucking threat, man. Stop making it seem like he a threat. It's goofy on phone grade.
Folks be woofing all day.
Nobody. I know ain't nobody gonna do. They can fool y'all with this spinning. They ain't fooling me. They getting that Jado jump out, boys. Jado jump outs. That's it for life. I take that shit to the grave. That was my boy on Fulham grave.
After this, Big P and the jump outs would go back and forth online.
He on the net whooping on the guy. This nigga big ass troll. He ain't gonna do shit to nobody. And if he is down, if he waiting on Christmas, the New Year, shit getting boring, man. Big.
For plenty of days. But
Yo, my
sadly, this is
man.
not LA where they talk about each other and that's all that happens. This is Chicago where it always turns out badly. The rest of 2022 would be a bad year for Big P. According to him, the jump outs lit up Oblok and hit him in the face. Thankfully, though, the injuries were minor and he would be okay.
They can't believe I'm still alive. I'm still alive, shoulder. My leg hurt. Hey, y'all could have saw he had the gun like this. He didn't even want to shoot. He shot me in my head. That boy
Why you
running so
snitching though,
slow.
man?
Regardless, this is the moment where everyone
You
realizes the
snitching.
internal beef is something serious. Then, just a couple weeks later, Big P's car and his dad's house are both lit up. Thankfully, no one was injured, but his car was totaled. Yeah, things were looking bad for Big P. On top of this, not too long after, he would be arrested for a gun charge. But you know what? This may have been a good thing, because now he was away from the Jado jump outs. But not for long. On November 20th, 2022, Munamon would be arrested for lighting up Big P's dad's house and his car. So now Big P and Munamon were together in the Cook County Jail. Well, that's awkward. But in typical Chicago fashion, Munamon's charges would be dropped and he was right back on the streets. After returning to Chicago, he would start his career as a drill rapper, and honestly, I don't know why he isn't famous. Well, you guys can check out his music for yourself and let me know if it's any good. Well, Munamont started gaining popularity, and here's where things get really complicated. For whatever reason, a bunch of original Oblock members like E-Dog are showing support in the comments. As you would imagine, Big P is pissed. He's literally been betrayed by everyone. The youngins eliminated his brother, and now all of his day one homies are taking their side. You can only imagine how he may
Jesus.
feel.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat all that.
Yo, dog.
More videos that he can't rap. I hate his music. He sounds like he got spit in his mouth or something.
Damn, my man hurt,
Hey,
man.
E,
He
when you
did
want
all
to
that
go
talking
Motor City,
and
bro? You don't
he
even
did all that
own a ticket. You
talking,
got
bro,
you can have some.
and you know what I mean?
Well, according to rumors, the Oblock split is much more complicated than the older versus younger generation. All we know, in the summer of 2022, Big P was not only beefing with the Jado jump outs, but he was also beefing with his former friends. So let me break it down. The
It
FBGW
was
was a
him
recently
literally
pivotal
against the
moment for
whole
Big P.
goddamn
A
old
bunch
block
of
camp.
members accused other members of snitching, and it caused a whole bunch of nonsense. Well, Big P was one of these, as he called out Boss Top for snitching. If you're unfamiliar, Boss Top is one of the original O-Block residents and was best friends with OD Perry and T. Roy. So calling him out for snitching without any paperwork and doing it on live, I don't know about this one. But he claims to have information that Boss Top snitched on one of the defendants named C. Murda.
Better go check top name, Tyrese Davis. He telling on C Murder. Go find that out.
He then threatens him.
I'm killing your ass, Mark. Mike E. Boss Top, all you
And
that.
This is clearly a
he's
man
talking
who's
about killing
distressed
people on
after what
live. That's like the
happened to
third
his
time
brother,
already,
and
man. He
it's
made snitching on his
understandably
damn
upset.
self, man.
Everyone turned on
He
him
know
when
he
he
ain't
was
gonna
in
do
the
nothing.
wrong,
That's
and
crazy,
now he's
man.
crashing out. But now here's the big question. Is Big P actually with the action, or is he all talk? Well, we don't exactly know, but something would happen to Boss Top. By this time, Boss Top had moved to Atlanta, so he probably wasn't thinking about Big P's threats. However, he would return to O-Block for a special occasion. It's July 4th and everyone gathers together in O-Block. Music is blasting and everyone is letting off fireworks for fun. This includes Boss Top, who's just happy to be in his neighborhood and enjoying fun with his friends. Then out of nowhere, somebody rolls through. He was hit, but thankfully he was okay.
What the happened? You're just walking around like we were talking about how O Block's so nice, but you got shot right over there, right?
I mean, I just know I was on Instagram. I was finna go live, and I just felt something.
You were about to go live.
Yeah, and I just felt something.
Out on the street, not in the actual complex.
I just felt something happen. That's it.
Right.
I just felt something
Where?
in my back, and then my arm came out my side right here, side of my chest.
You had to go to the hospital?
No, I went to the vet. I had to go to the hospital.
So obviously, Boss Top is in good spirits, and he's an example that if you have old beef, please get out of your city. We don't know exactly who did this, but all of this internal conflict is definitely sad. If OD Perry, T. Roy, or Vaughn saw what was happening today, they would lose their minds. Oblok has completely fallen apart and the majority of their beef is internal. On top of this, the younger generation has ruined some relationships with Oblok's former allies. So here's what happened. Oblok always had a solid relationship with a hood called NLMB. If you're unfamiliar, their territory is in the South Shore neighborhood and they also
That
go by
G
docu.
Herbo, that little
But for
BB.
whatever reason, the young generation of Oblok would get into it with them. Sadly, this would claim the life of a young success story in the hood. A junior student at Northern Illinois University would lose his life while leaving his sister's house. Elijah just so happened to be the younger brother of EBK Juvie, one of the most controversial figures in Chicago streets. Through all of the chaos growing up, Elijah was able to stay focused in school and make his dreams come true. Because of this, his loss was incredibly devastating to the community. Well, according to the internet, a 16-year-old Jado Jumpout was arrested for it. And they're saying it's the same person who Steven Jackson came and checked in with.
We're in the middle of it. I mean,
Old a old head came in to check in Oblak with a little ass kid that look like he's like 12 years old, bro.
Jackson
I
came
mean,
and
I ain't
checked
gonna lie,
in
that 12-year-old probably he probably would have shot my ass, but still, you checking in with little kids, man, that's crazy.
with.
Yeah. I guess ever since King Von died, everybody was just like, man. I saw a post with like everybody in Oblak is charging what $2,000 to take a tour. They're down bad. They're charging for tours from Oblak.
we're in the middle of it. I mean, y'all pull up and take pictures and y'all not allowed to.
This old head right here.
And one thing about it, if you're a real one, you don't mind checking in.
Checking in. What'd you say?
I check in with the real one. That's why that's why I'm in the middle of old block. You see the hoop?
Where you at?
I'm in the middle of old block.
Listen, man. Depends what the people speak.
So does that mean that the little Mexicans that went out there making music videos, they were some real ones because they was in the middle of old blocks too, making music, boy, jamming out with them bad boy, boy. So shit, you know what I mean? That's crazy, man. And they was just what little they were doing little content creators. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Y'all see the little Mexican video with the little Mexican kick with the boombox? He went inside the old blocks and made made a song and started having all the old block members just out there grooving and having a good time with them, man. You don't gotta be a real one, a killer, to go in there. You could just, as long as you go in there with
Serious note, we
respect,
can only
I
hope that the
think.
beef in Oblak will stop. After all of these generations of beef, absolutely nothing has come from it but devastation. On top of this, you're beefing over a block that you don't even own. How silly is that? The craziest part is that Oblak is literally about to get demolished. Well, all we can do is hope that the future of Chicago gets better from here. Because honestly, no child in the world deserves to be raised in this environment. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Swamp Stories. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe.
Hell no, they tripping on that one, man. They tripping on that one, man. Here you go, you go.
You destroyed an enemy cruiser.
Bye, man. Hope you guys, whatever y'all want me to react to, man. Y'all want me to do another documentary about some, whichever one y'all want me to do, man. Just, just hit up the comments. But I can't get on my other accounts. I got a damn strike on it. So just hit me up on this one. If you guys enjoyed this old block one, let me know. I seen a couple. I seen the NLMB. I seen the FBG ones, all that, man. So just go ahead and let me know in the comment section what y'all want me to do, and I got y'all, man. And y'all homie that essay.